Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky says the country has no plans to stop its fight back against Russia and says that Ukraine is instead preparing for the worst. Neighboring Russia has announced that it's sending in more troops to bolster its invasion of its neighbor 17 days on. It comes after Ukrainian forces put 31 of their battalion tactical groups out. They put them out of action in what Zelensky has described as Russia's largest army losses in decades.
Ми не маємо права знижувати інтенсивність оборони, як би нам складно не було. Не маємо права зменшувати енергію свого спротиву. Ворог заводить на нашу територію нові колони.
Zelensky says over 1,300 Ukrainian troops have been killed since the start of the Russian invasion. He's also said that Russia has lost around 12,000 soldiers. Last week, Moscow reported it had lost nearly 500 soldiers, but has not updated the figure since. Addressing the media today, Zelensky also explained that Ukraine has no plans to back down. I've just told you about that, in fact, because these are the latest comments that he's been making. But, by the way, on the issue of the numbers of troops killed on either side, they have come with a caution because both sides, some experts have said, are likely to underplay their losses and even in some cases perhaps overstate the losses of the other side. Well, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has called for foreign volunteers to join his country's invasion of Ukraine. Speaking at a Russian Security Council meeting, he said that those who wanted to fight alongside the Russians would be allowed to do so. For more on this, we're joined tonight by Professor Irina Filatova from the National Research University of Russia. Professor, a very good evening to you. Welcome back to News at Prime. So this announcement by Russia that foreign fighters from areas such as Syria can now be allowed to join its invasion of Ukraine, what does it tell us about the Russian strategy?
Well, I don't think that it tells us a lot about the Russian strategy. I think that this is President Putin's reply or response to President Zelensky's similar announcement a few days ago that he's creating a foreign legion and that foreigners can join Ukraine's fight for independence and freedom. Putin has invited, indeed, people from the Middle East, particularly Syrians, to fight against Ukraine. What it tells us is that he has now realized that he's experiencing some difficulties. And what he wants to do is to send to Ukraine people with military experience. Because the first troops that were sent there, they had a lot of conscripts, I don't know how many, but a lot of conscripts who just participated in the military training, which was before the invasion. So, yes, that is the response, and it is for Ukraine. It's not a very pleasant development.
And as far as the Syrians, who we understand are traveling to Ukraine to help the Russians in their invasion of that country, can that be read into the assistance that Russia gave to the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, when he was under pressure during the civil war then? Is this now payback for Russian assistance then?
Yes, of course, but it is also, I think that it is also Bashar al-Assad's sort of fight as well, because the perception is that Putin is fighting not just against Ukraine, he's fighting against the West, because in President Putin's mind, Ukraine has been supported and maintained, and the Ukrainian revolution in 2013-2014 was maintained and supported by the West. So now it is the fight against the West and against NATO, and of course Syrians are very happy to participate in that fight.
And as you were saying, there are also foreigners, we've been reading reports, who are traveling into Ukraine to fight alongside the Ukrainians to fend off the Russian invasion. But does that not pose the risk then of taking this and making it a more global conflict and inadvertently involving other countries as well? Because they too, I'd imagine, would be to some degree concerned about the safety of their nationals once they're in active combat.
Look, this conflict is very, very dangerous in every possible way, in this way too. But there are so many so many factors which can work in the way of involving other countries, not just people, not just the nationals of these countries, but other countries, generally speaking, the governments. There can be an accident in the air, there can be misunderstanding, there can be a provocation. And we are really in a very difficult and dangerous place now, facing the possibility of the Third World War. So yes, it is a very dangerous place, and it is a very dangerous thing to do.
I'm looking now at some of the latest lines from Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. He says here that Russia can only take Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, only if it razes it to the ground. That is indicative then, on a day that we're hearing that massive Russian convoy, which had broken up, we're hearing sometime this week, is now advancing, some saying it's perhaps about 15 kilometers away from Ukraine's capital. Are we going to see the worst kind of fighting, do you expect, as it edges closer to Kyiv?
I think so. I think that Kyiv has been preparing for this attack for a very long time. And it is very important for the existence of Ukraine, for the psyche of the nation, for Kyiv to really stand firm and to try to repel the attack. And it will be whatever means are used. They will try to resist, but Putin is equally adamant about capturing Kyiv, because for him, toppling Zelensky's government is the prime aim of this war.
Would it be fair to say, Prof, that Kyiv is perhaps where this war is going to be won or lost?
Won or what?
Won or lost. Whoever wins or loses, what happens in Kyiv in the coming days or hours is what will ultimately decide that.
No, I don't think that the coming days and even the fall of Kyiv will decide the fate of Ukraine and will decide the fate of the war. I don't think so, because we do not know Putin's plans, but Ukrainians are going to go on fighting. They will try to fight in other territories. They will go on fighting.
One more thing, Prof. About a week ago, Volodymyr Zelensky had said that he was willing to sit and speak face-to-face with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. That's not yet happened. The most high-level meeting we've seen was between the foreign ministers on Thursday in Turkey. Is that completely off the table, do you think, a sit-down meeting between Zelensky and Putin?
Putin gave signs, according to the Russian sources, Putin gave signs that he is not, in principle, against such a meeting. But the agenda of such a meeting is not at all clear, because so far the Russian side only came with ultimatums. So we don't know what, if anything, there is to discuss. And I don't know that actually Zelensky knows or Putin knows. I think that the next few days will define the agenda of such a meeting, if it takes place and when it takes place.
And the difficulty, Professor, is that both Russia and Ukraine have a longer list of non-negotiables rather than positions that they are willing to discuss and concede on. Isn't that the issue?
Yes, that is the issue. Both sides are absolutely, they have dug their heels and they stand there and they do not want to retreat.
All right, thank you very much for that. Professor Irina Filatova from the National Research University of Russia, speaking to us on day 17 of Russia's invasion of its neighbor. Thank you, Prof.